With an all-star roster and the clock ticking on the careers of Kobe Bryant and Steve Nash, the Lakers need a high-profile coach who will have the respect of the locker room, and they need him now. The clear favorite, of course, Phil Jackson. A source told our Chris Broussard, "I can't imagine this not working out." Jackson wants a salary in the neighborhood of $10 million, increased power over all basketball decisions, and travel restrictions so that he won't have to go to all of the road games. Phil Jackson has the Lakers over a bit of a barrel, and it sounds like he's negotiating accordingly. Stephen A. Smith joining us now. Stephen A., what would have to happen here for the sides not to come to an agreement at this point?
Well, for Jim Buss losing his mind and deciding he doesn't want to be a part of this situation, that would obviously qualify, and it's certainly not beyond the realm of possibility. You have to remember that when Jim Buss hired Mike Brown, the primary reason he hired Mike Brown is because he wanted to move in a completely different direction from Phil Jackson. He wanted to facelift the franchise, per se. He didn't want to have anything to do with what Phil Jackson had accomplished. He didn't want to have any kind of connection or identity whatsoever with the things that Phil Jackson had accomplished. So you go and you hire Mike Brown, and not only do you hire Mike Brown, but you encourage him to do all the things that, so many people that have been watching Lakers play basketball over the last year and a half have been complaining about. Obviously, Jim Buss is the man controlling basketball operations, even though his daddy, Dr. Buss, is going to have something to say about it. And when he puts his foot down and says this is what he wants done, that's going to get done. But apparently that's the direction that they're going in right now. But I can imagine that other than Phil Jackson saying he doesn't want to do it, that's the only thing that's going to get in the way. 2 years, $20 million is what he's looking for, along with elevated control of basketball in terms of basketball decision-making, more clout per se, more cachet in the decision-making process. And obviously the traveling is something that is a bit, he finds it a bit uncomfortable. So all of those things are absolutely right. But in the end, it comes down to how bad does Jim Buss really, really want him? And, of course, Dr. Buss, how much influence is he going to exercise over his son? Because in the end, what he says goes.
All right, let's say Phil Jackson does take the job. Just talk basketball, X's and O's. You're scrapping the Princeton offense, presumably for the triangle. You're doing it without a training camp to fully implement it. I know Kobe knows the system, but it's a new offense for Dwight Howard and Steve Nash. What will this transition be like?
It won't be a difficult one. I think it's absolute nonsense for people to think that it's going to be a difficult one. You have to take into account the fact that this is an offense that's never flowed to begin with, since Phil Jackson has left. Mike Brown is known as a really strong basketball mind, but particularly on the defensive side of the ball. Offensively, that has not been his M.O. So when you look at the way that they've struggled, yeah, they've been sixth in like offensive efficiency or whatever, but in the end, it didn't amount to a hill of beans, rather, because where did it get them? It got them it got them beat down in 5 games, actually, in the semifinals against OKC last year, went 0-8 during the preseason after losing their last 2 playoff games of the last season. Plus, you start off 1-4 now, so that's in their last 15 trips. They were 1-14 when they stepped on the floor as Lakers in an official capacity. That's entirely unacceptable. You look at Kobe Bryant right now, he's averaging about 27, but he's shooting 55% from the field, which is great. Dwight Howard is shooting 64%, but Pau Gasol is shooting 40% from the field. Phil Jackson's triangle offense will alleviate all of that. Plus, he'll take care of Stephen Nash with the pick and roll.
All signs pointing to Phil Jackson taking this job. Stephen A. Smith, our NBA insider, giving us his thoughts.